Welcome to the Friday Soon Show. All I'm saying, next time, bring the evidence. All you do, you come here, corruption. Just here. Next time you come, bring your I am not talking about that. I'm talking about you in 2024, December, saying there's corruption. Bring it.
Let me ask you this question. I would like to ask the AG to propose legislation for what we call small claims court. There are lots of poor people, so an example you just gave, that they have issues with others and sometimes with large firms, but the lawyer fee is greater than the fee you're claiming.
It is their
right.
I'm right. The right that someone has. All of our rights exist in context.
What is the context of a second medical opinion?
Because you're disrespecting the process.
No.
Jesus, this is common sense, man.
Any situation which you seem that you're just dealing with Afro-Guyanese issues. If one, you can't bring and pull the leaders of the African community together, you're failing. And if two, you can't put forward a future, a blueprint, and a plan for African Guyanese, you're failing as well.
Pleasant Friday evening to you. This is the Freddie Kissoon Show with Leonard Craig. We are coming to you from the iconic Promenade Gardens. We've been filming here for a couple of weeks, well, maybe more than 6 weeks. And there's something I found out about the Promenade Gardens that is completely and absolutely unacceptable. If you haven't been to this garden, it's one of the historic sites in Guyana, and it's a beautiful garden. Do you know for the past 2 years, there are no washroom facilities? None. Absolutely no facilities in the area of wanting to have a call of nature, wanting anything to do with that. Now, the city council owns the Promenade Gardens, and it's maintained by the Republic Bank, which is just opposite the gardens. But how could you have we've been filming here, and we see couples come, they bring their lunch. We see the last time we were here, we saw 5 tourists coming our way. How you could have a garden so lovely in the 21st century, and if someone wants to use the washroom, there is none. Man, Guyana just defies logic. The Republic Bank maintains the place. How much money it would take to have washroom facilities which exist? Very nice washroom facilities exist at the Waterloo entrance, but it's been closed for 2 years. Could the government please do something about that? Now, for this evening program, Craig and I will do our analysis of some of the contents of Guyana. And I want to start with something that really lacerates my psyche. This, I'm calling on every Guyanese to get involved with this and stop it. Stop it. This is cruel exploitation, repression of ordinary people. I am referring to you to my today's Chronicle column. Today for Friday, January 23rd. This is the title. I toss my coin in the fountain of 2026. You know the colloquial saying, you toss your coin, it means you wish for things, right? So I toss my coin, and this is what I wish for. And I will start with it, and then Lord Craig will come in. I will now read from my column. I would like to see someone or some organization or some group of persons confront the commercial bank this year on their mistreatment of small income customers in relation to the process of dormant account. The abuse of customers whose accounts have become dormant is not overbearing, but illegal and unconstitutional. It is a horrible form of oppression by the commercial banks because the requirements the bank asks for to reactivate an inactive account is not backed by any legislation in this country. What the banks do is apply the anti-money laundering legislation to people whose accounts have become dormant, and it is wrong and unfair. I have written about this abuse so many times over the past 5 years that I confess I do not have the mental energy to confront this oppression any longer. Money laundering is a commonsensical thing. The movement in an account not backed by legitimate source of funding give rise to concern. In all circumstances, money laundering involves huge sums. At a commonsensical level, how an account that has no transaction over a 1 year period, or in the case of Nova Scotia, over a 6-month period, can arouse suspicion of money laundering and draw suspicion of money laundering. The word laundering denotes action. Laundering involves a transaction. Dormancy as a grammatical expression is the opposite with laundering. Dormancy denotes no action. It is a sleeping process. It makes no sense for the banks then to apply the anti-money laundering law in order to renew an inactive account. For the past 10 years, the banks have been misapplying the law and grinding small customers through the mill when their accounts become inactive. No one, absolutely no one in this country has shown any willingness to speak out against this atrocity, and it is an atrocity. I wish in my heart that in 2026 this abuse comes to an end. Before I move on, I would like to remind the nation what the Minister of Finance said last year. He explained that he was bewildered that the countries around the world have to subscribe to the same internationally framed anti-money laundering legislation. So he does not understand why there aren't the hassles in other countries that we see in Guyana. That was the biggest mystery in 2025. When you study it, the mystery stares you in the face. Why are the banks allowed to get away with this abuse? Leonard?
I have spoken on this program several times regarding my opposition to many of the policies of the banks, and this is one that I support. I support you 100% on. The way the money laundering laws are applied, it disproportionately affects the small, poor person who sometimes their total deposit for the year probably does not meet the $10,000 threshold, or their total accumulation in their account never reaches that 10,000 US, which is about $2.2 million. And so these are people who are not supposed to even fall in the net of the anti-money laundering thing. The bank anti-money laundering foundation is basically so you don't launder dirty money.
Right, an action of laundering money.
Yeah, and the international threshold is 10,000 US dollars. In other words, you could walk anywhere in the world, travel anywhere between two countries with up to 10,000 US dollars cash, and more likely than not, there'll be no questions asked. Maybe a question might be asked if you are moving 10,000 US dollars every week or every day, or you're traveling, you know, that is suspicious. But if I'm traveling one time a year with 10,000 US dollars, the world of money laundering doesn't care about it. And similarly, those people whose deposit hardly meets 200,000, these people who want to get their salary through the bank, and by the time these are people who are waiting on a daily basis. Hey, You know if you get paid? You know if you get paid? Money in the bank? Money. As soon as they hear money in the bank, it's a long line and they take out their money and go on and do the necessities of life. These people ain't got no idea how to launder money. These people have no idea how to launder money. And the people who got the idea and the connections and all of that is having an easy time in the bank. My point is this, that this thing has got to be commonsensical. Some of these people don't even reach the threshold. And then if you have an account in the bank, and your account dormant, as Freddie is saying,
to money laundering?
exactly, your account dormant, it therefore means you have not been moving money, you have not been doing anything. All you need to do is turn up with your ID and say, or the bank sometimes, some banks just require a deposit to get your account active again.
I met the finance minister and I was having a very interesting chat about other things. But because of the circumstances, I didn't get to raise this with him to tell him, man, you in charge. You said other countries don't have some people under the same money laundering act. You know, I get abused from people who say I'm a PPP person. Dr. Nigel Westwood called me a PPP attack dog. The editor of the Stamford News say I'm a PPP lapdog. But I have no influence with the PPP. If I was a PPP activist, I would have gone up to my group that I belong in. I would have gone up to Freedom House and say, why don't you, as the ruling party, stop this nonsense? Make a dormant account commonsensically, automatically reactivated. Commonsensically, because there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
No, nothing going on. You went to Afghanistan to see your son. You went to Barbados to see your auntie.
Yeah.
And your money, you use the account and you don't carry your ID and get it.
And make a deposit.
And I don't understand why the government of Guyana and why no one in the ruling party cannot see the decent, the legal atrocity of this with the banks. Why no one in the opposition picks this up? Why no one in civil society picks this up? Hear what I'm going to say to you, and please publicize what I'm about to say to you. Let us finance a lawyer's fee and take this thing to the court. If your account is dormant, please contact me and we'll try to raise money and get a lawyer to argue whether it's legal. It's not legal because it doesn't meet the requirement of the demands of the anti-money laundering. It's the bank, it's the managers of the bank acting as jackasses. Pure and simple, unadulterated jackasses. And these jackasses must stop this.
Yeah.
And the opposition, civil society, and the government must tell these jackasses to stop it. If an account is dormant, it's the opposite to money laundering. The opposite to water is oil. You throw water to remove.
Nice.
You throw water to move something from the pavement. You throw oil, it's not going to move it. Right. You don't throw oil to move dust on your bed. You take to throw dust on the step. You take a wet cloth. You can't take a cloth with oil.
So the thing is this: how these things came about is, first of all, there is something that is called know your customer. Now, in the past, you could have gone to the bank and the bank didn't have to know where you live and your name, your address, and that you exist in a physical person. And that caused a lot of people to hide criminal money. So, and once the bank knows the customer, that is all that is required to fulfill the concept of knowing your customer. Then you can take it to the next level. You look at the movement of money in the account. and see things that are unusual with relating to what you know of your customer. And some customer, all you need to know is the name and the address, because these customers will never and have never accumulate more than 300,000-400,000 in their account.
Craig, I work nowhere. Nowhere. I'm in my 70s. When my account is dormant, which money I'm laundering at my age, and for whom? I'm a pensioner.
And not that these people have your account and they see the history of your account for all the years that you have been banking. And you have not done anything that is different from what you have always done.
For the past 30 years.
Exactly. And still you fall under the... I mean, it's just silly.
Ask me last year for dormancy. You got the proof of address. My money, I didn't use my account. And I got to meet the anti-money laundering requirement. Why the government of Guyana? You know, I haven't spoken to Mr. Jagdeo since the year 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking at this program, Mr. Jagdeo.
Today is Mr. Jagdeo's birthday by
Happy birthday, Mr. Jagdeo. And Mr. Jagdeo, I haven't spoken to you since 2000. I haven't seen you since 2000, except for a fleeting moment in the convention center. Mr. Jagdeo, as the person whose portfolio as a vice president is finance, banking, and the economy, can you please do something about a dormant account being equivalent to money laundering? You are one of the Caribbean's brightest economists. You can't tell me, Mr. Jagdeo, that you don't know that is unfair. I'm appealing to you to stop this. When your account is dormant, it's the opposite to money laundering. You go in and ask for your account to be reactivated. Mr. Jagdeo, I haven't seen you since 2000, but I'd like to see you about this matter. I would like to see you about this matter. I hope we can talk about this.
Yeah, so I think we could move on, but before we move on though, it's not just this. There are several other services that the banks offer that puts poor people in a bind, literally. And some of these things got to be reformed. The majority of depositors are people at the lower level who just put in their money and take it out, or have their account as transitory. You collect your salary and you spend it out within 2-3 days.
Listen,
paying your expenses.
When those people bring in that law, those people didn't bring it in for you and me.
Exactly.
Those people bring it in for narco-terrorists and big bankers laundering money, the Swiss guys. They didn't bring it in for no public servant and no university lecturer and market vendor. And the jackasses in the commercial banks do not understand that. This thing is for terrorists and drug traffickers and people laundering money for foreign agents.
And they can see your profile. They can. That is the point I am making all the time. For example, a relative of mine have an account, and I'm gonna call the bank name and just think, with Republic Bank, and has been taking loans after loans. These small loans where you don't have to get collateral. Loan after loan after loan after loan. As soon as one is finished paying back, take another one over and over and over. Good. And has been with the bank for over 15, 20 something years, literally, right? And the same person now apply for a checking account. And Republic Bank, who has a ongoing relationship with this person for the last 20 years, have given them unsecured loan, saying now, if you need a checking account, you have to go to somebody and bring a recommendation to us before we can give you a checking account. Republic Bank is the one should be giving you a recommendation to say, I have seen this person's profile over the last 20 years, and we have nothing to suggest that this person is doing anything illegal.
Craig.
They are supposed to be giving you, they are demanding that you get 2 recommendations. I mean, something like this boggles the mind, and the person was just trying to open a small business.
And you don't
register business.
You
and
don't
just
think
try.
the word jackass is applicable?
No, it is. I would not use the word.
I'm using
but
it.
I am telling you,
They're
it's
a bunch
applicable.
of jackasses.
It's
You are
100% applicable.
You are pressing poor people. I am in my 70s, never worked for any money. And then when the thing come down with my wife and I, and all the people, you know, you come down with you going to them. Well, could you tell me what was your source of income the past 5 years? You have a proof of a job. I mean, what asininity, unprecedented asininity characterizes Guyana, man?
And let me give you one more. If you're the owner of your first home, under the law, you get your interest that you pay to the bank refunded, right? So if you own of your first home and you take a loan and the bank charges you interest, you can have all the interest refunded by the government of Guyana. If you make the application. But in order to make the application, you have to get from Republic like a printout stating that you've taken so much in loan, bam, 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 and that at the end of each month or whatever, this is the interest profile for you, so that the government knows and can make the refund. Do you know that you can't get this on a online platform or anything like that? You gotta go into the bank, you gotta make an application, you gotta wait, and you gotta pay for it. You understand? And it's not like $200 administrative fee for printing and all of that. The 5,000, you know, and them kind of thing.
Craig,
you gotta go and pay for that.
You want to listen to what I have to tell you? The thousands of persons that listen to this program, look at this program. I'm going to tell you something now. So sit down, because this is the stupidity of Guyana, and this is the jackassishness of the banks. Do you know it was only changed 2 years ago as to what dormancy means? Hear what? When you have an account and you have shares, right, or you getting interest, remember remember the bank giving you interest for your account, right? Remember your share of dividends go into the bank, right? You know, it's only 3 years ago that the bank accept that is movement. Before that didn't count as movement. So if you didn't put in something in the
physically,
account, it's dormant. So you understand the jackassish interpretation of dormancy? This bank taking your account and giving you quarterly interest. You tell Bank CIH and you tell Sterling Products to send your dividend to your account. They were saying just 3 years ago that if you put a little 5,000 of a check in your account, it becomes dormant. So all this time your account active with your money going into from Sterling or from... It's only 3 years ago they changed that. But here's the other thing. A life of an account at Nova Scotia is only 6 months.
Yeah.
Only 6 months.
Most banks.
Republic opted to 2 years now.
2 years?
2 years. Yeah, I went in there when my thing became dormant. 6 months. 6 months. An account, you know how busy modern life is? That somebody got to go every 6 months.
Yeah, and depends on your financial plan. Sometimes you say, here, this account, I'm only putting money in it when I get a lump sum, maybe from my work. Some people get a lump sum from their work annually. And they have a plan that, here, look, my annual bonus is going into this account and I'm not touching it. And, you know, so by the time your next bonus come around, because you don't intend to trouble that money unless you have an emergency. And I mean, so you know.
But Craig, are we becoming a modern country? Craig, how a manager of a bank could see an account that has 5 million in it the past 8 years and no, just withdrawing, the person just withdrawing, and for 1 year the person didn't withdraw because they went to Afghanistan or they went to Greenland and the account become dormant? How a manager could say, well, we have to ask some questions and keep him? How could that manager be an asset to the world?
Let me give you a quick
How could that manager be a useful person?
Let me give you a quick one. I was in the bank, right? I was in a line.
Are you looking at us and listening to us, of the viewers?
And a lady was standing in front of me. She walked up to the counter and she had quite a lot of cash. And because I was so close behind and she was getting agitated and voices were raising, I got to overhear that she wanted to deposit $10 million, but the bank wouldn't take it because she did not have immediate proof of where she get $10 million from. Fair enough, understood. So they are sending her out the bank with $10 million cash, say they're refusing to take it. Having overheard that, I stepped forward and I said, look, I can't help but overhear what's happening. Can I speak on behalf of this lady to your supervisor? I called the supervisor and I said, supervisor, just stop with me and think for a moment. This lady just brought dirty money, right? You as a bank get responsibility for ensuring, for helping with anti-money laundering. This lady, let's assume this lady just did a bad transaction, drugs, whatever, and brought $10 million into your bank. Isn't it common sense that you take this money and quarantine it to tell her, unless you bring proof, you can't withdraw or you can't do no more transaction? You're gonna send her out back with $10 million to go and walk these streets? Do you know how dangerous that is? If you read in the newspaper, she's dead tomorrow, how will you feel? And she said, oh, you know, it's reasonable what I'm saying. She went to talk to a manager. I needed to leave the bank, but I stood and wait. And they took about half an hour to make the decision. And eventually they said, look, we're gonna take this deposit, but you have to bring, because the lady said she have a contract. And she got this written contract, it's from the government, blah, 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 whatever it is. And she sold something, bought something, whatever it is. And she said, I have proof for everything, I just don't have it with me. And the lady also was adamant. She said, I don't care what y'all do, y'all call the police, call whatever, I'm not leaving the bank with this $10 million. She also was adamant. And I was supporting her. I was like a cheerleader all the time. And the more I supported her, the more stern the woman got. And the manager eventually agreed.
Craig, we're supposed to have Danish Mahipal, and the finance minister said he's coming on the program. We can't miss the opportunity to raise this. But Craig, why are the opposition silent on this thing? A lady, a vendor, my old man, me, that everybody in Guyana know. How come I got to meet Money Laundering Act if my little pittance is dormant?
Yeah.
Why
I'm saying
nobody's picking up on this?
A common sense approach could be that if your money total deposit does not accumulate above a certain amount over time, and if your regular put in and take out does not exceed a certain amount, you shouldn't even come under an anti-money laundering. The anti-money laundering act to a certain extent shouldn't apply to you. Once you meet the requirement, know your customer. In other words, the bank knows that you're a physical person and you exist, and you're not just somebody because in...
No, but stop there. Mm-hmm. If the bank knows that in 2010 you had 50 million, that in 2022 it went down to 48, that in 2023 it went down to 40, And then in 2024, there was no transaction, it became dormant. How the money laundering comes in?
Right. Yeah. Well,
There's no movement.
No, what I'm saying, we established that already. But I'm pivoting to a different point. In that, I'm talking about everyday people on the road. The little vendor that got the little 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 200,000 to deposit. Once in a year, it does not accumulate to over a certain amount. All I am saying, once they meet the requirement, they can demonstrate to the bank they are a physical, living, existing person, and they have a way of contacting them. You don't need anything else. They don't need to prove anything else, because they should be sentenced to death if they are laundering to a $20,000, literally. So just before you come in, so the point I am making is that the higher level of money laundering should not apply to the majority of people walking the road. You just prove to the bank you exist, and the bank has a way of contacting you.
We did a calling program.
End of story. You should be able to go and do your transaction freely.
We did a calling program, and the flower seller from Ham, so fire calling and told us what they would do.
Yeah, when the bank sees that your income goes above a certain thing, their way of they contact you, say, look, your transaction starting to look differently than what we know. It's gone above a certain threshold. We will then need to know your proof of income. Things like that.
Craig, before we move on, I want to tell you something that stuck. I'm in my early 70s, and it stuck with me since I was 16. There was something in our yard in Dublin Street, Portman Bay, and somebody was behaving stupidly or something. And I remember one of the persons that's in our yard said, you got children? And the misbehaving guy didn't understand what the man meant when he asked that question. But subsequently, it was explained to me, I was just about 14, what he meant. That this guy is so stupid that God help the world if he got children, and that stupidity is replicated. You could imagine these people in the banks, these jackasses in the banks that hassle people like that. God help the world. I'm not a believer. But God help the world if they have children. So that stupidity, that unreasonableness, that mental sadism is replicated in the world. You want to move on? I hope I hope somebody tells Mr. Jack, I'd like to speak.
Children in this case would be the people they recruit and train. And probably not, because some of them, their children might not be interested in banking per se. But the people they recruit, the next generation of managers.
Craig, I stood next to my wife. Craig, you know my wife. My wife is one of the quietest person in the entire universe. There's a lady, if somebody jumped the line, she couldn't say anything and they got in front of her. I was with my wife because my mother-in-law died and she's closing the NBS account. And that lady told my wife, she's closing the account. We'll never see NBS again. We'll never see that teller again. Don't care about NBS. Don't care about the manager NBS. She's gone. That lady told my wife, you have proof of address? Craig, most people in Guyana who know me sometime they say, you're a little bit crazy.
Little bit?
Yeah, right. I just said to her, she doesn't have to have proof of address to close an account. Stop it. She said, you got to have proof of address. I flew up to the manager. I said, why my wife has to have proof of address when she's parting company with you? She'll never money launder money in your bank. She doesn't want to see your bank again. He said, no, she doesn't have to get proof of address. You see how they hassle people? No. God forbid if that lady gets children. We are closing the account. We done. We can't launder. We can't get NBS in any problem. She asked my wife for proof of address. Craig, I know we got to move on. But before we move on, two things. You People who don't like my politics tell me I'm a PPP propagandist. That. How come I am and I get the ruling party, the government, to stop what they're doing, the banks are doing to small people? How come I'm a... And I haven't seen Mr. Jagdeo for 2020, but since 2000. And I like to have a word with him because despite the problems I've had with Mr. Jagdeo over the years, I think Mr. Jagdeo is a bright economist, and I think that he knows what's going on in Guyana. So if you see Mr. Jagdeo, please tell him I'd like to have a word with him. Greg?
All right. I hope you get that meeting, and I hope you reconcile with Mr. Jagdeo. You just said you have your problems over the year. I don't know what the problems are, and I'm not interested. You tell
okay,
me.
then yeah, that's past. That's
but
all,
I hope you reconcile.
That's all gone. One has to move on, and
2000 to now, that's 26 years.
I haven't seen Mr. Jagdeo spoken.
26 years,
right?
In a small country like Guyana.
I haven't spoken to Mr. Jagdeo.
Okay.
The last time I spoke to Mr. Jagdeo was 2000, and the only time I saw Mr. Jagdeo in person since then, it was 2021. I was going into the convention center, and Mr. Jagdeo was with some ministers, and he was just passing out. And I think he saw me going in, and I saw him with. And that lasted for a few seconds. But I know we got to move on. But I would like to sit down next to him and ask him why they do that.
And I hope you have other questions.
No, I want to ask him if, as a vice president in charge of the economy, if he agrees that a dormant account has to meet the money laundering requirement act. I just want to hear him say that. And if he says no, I will then say to Mr. Jagdeo, could you please correct that as the vice president in charge of the economy? Well, let's move on. I don't want to move on, but if you want to move on.
No, they have the thing that is brewing, and I'm sure people would want to hear our views on it. What's going on in Parliament. The Speaker made his presentation, and the election or selection of the opposition leader is set for Monday. I think Monday's budget day as well, I think. So give us your views on the whole election of the leader.
We don't have guests on the program. Am I the guest?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you now.
There are two things about about this controversy, the opposition leader. One is I support Mansour Nadir and what he had to say about the Western
but the
countries.
man also cussed out the... Okay. Right.
He cussed out some...
He cussed out the ambassador of Canada.
No, but, well, I am telling you this. I support the Speaker. These people come to our country, and they lay down requirements, regulations for us that they don't have. The Vice President of the United States said that the EU is anti-democratic, that they stop a man from running for the presidency of Romania. And the reason that the man was a front runner, and the reason they stopped the man because he was a pro-Russian candidate. And they said Russia was interfering in that man's party, meaning helping the man. And they never produced the proof. Now you have the EU people coming here and telling us, you know, no, the Canadian Canadian guy ruffled some feathers when he said he appealing, he should be more diplomatic. He appealed to the people of Guyana to put pressure on the government to look at what is called incumbent advantage. He didn't speak to the president and say you must talk to the population about it. He appealed directly to our population. Why don't you appeal directly to the Canadian people about the Canadian government refusal to accept genocide?
Yeah, and further, there was a meeting between several diplomats of the ABCDE countries with the speaker. And I hope the speaker told them forthrightly, because I support, I just, it was in jest that I said he cussed out the ambassador.
If he did, I support him.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Right on, Nadia.
It was in jest, but at some point,